If Nixta lobbies offend you, if VPNers offend you, if reverse boosters offend you, none of these things would make any sense to do, and no one would do them, and they would have no effect if it were not for SBMM. So keep that in mind. We are live.
Way too early. Way too early.
That's too early.
You did it again.
You?
Yeah.
Bro, I waited.
We needed like another 2 seconds. No.
Okay. Welcome to the Dropshot of Call of Duty podcast, episode number 447. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today I'm joined by Tanner, wearing the hat, doing the thing, sipping the water. A hydrated king, as they say.
I enjoy water.
And today, we are not going to dally or dilly. We're going to get right into the absolute content. So, this week, what has gone on in Call of Duty? Not too much. A couple interesting patch notes to cover. And then I think the biggest thing is going to be the SBMM white paper that has been generating some discourse on the TL. We will be going over that to some degree and giving you guys our thoughts on that as well. And that's kind of it. Not a huge week in the Call of Duty world, although we shouldn't be expecting that because we're in ramp up to the next games season, basically. All their efforts and time are going into BO6 promotion or BO6 development or a combination of both. So if you're an MW3 enjoyer, you know, things are just going to be slow forever, basically, which is fine. But nonetheless, we will go over what we can. We do have some announcements that we will be going over at the end of the broadcast. So if you want to hear those, then stick around for the end. And as always, you can use the timestamps below to skip to whatever section tickles your tiny little fancy. So with that said, let's move on straight away into the patch notes. So we did get a patch this week. It was 2 days ago on the Tuesday, July 30th. So we're starting with MW3 patch on the 30th. Probably virtually nothing to talk about here, but let's just make sure. Some bug fixes. That is pretty much it. Although and this is going to apply to Warzone as well. The Core 45, they increased the fire rate again. So this is the starting pistol in Warzone that you drop out of the plane with. And they had initially, like a week ago, lowered the fire rate to 240 RPM, which was a disaster. It was really, really slow, and it meant that if you landed in Warzone and another team did, and they found a gun, ground loot gun, any gun actually, and you didn't, you had no chance of winning anymore because the fire rate was just too slow. So they bumped that right back up to 450. I don't know what it was originally. I think it was 450 though, because it feels about the same as it used to.
They raised it.
Okay,
they raised
it. What was it originally? Do you know? 380?
380, I believe.
Yeah, I want to say 380 also.
Let's see. It'll say in here. Let me find the quick patch up from the last one. It was It was 375, and now it's 450. Got it. So they nerfed it by 130 rounds per minute, and now they've buffed it by 75.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, no idea why.
Yeah,
okay.
Don't know why either, but I am a fan of it because
it's much better now than the lower fire rate. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's much better than the lower fire rate. And I would argue it's even better than 375, which it was originally before any changes. Because again, it allows you to have a chance to win a gunfight if you, like, very early game, when you don't find ground loot and the other guy finds like a ground loot static or something. Like, you have a chance now. With 240 RPM, you absolutely didn't. With 375, you also had a chance, but now you have more of one, which I think is probably good. So that's cool. And anyway, they brought that change to multiplayer for this pistol as well. And then other than that, that's pretty much it. So now moving on to the Warzone patch. Here we go. Let's see. Warzone. So yeah, another patch on Tuesday as well for Warzone. So first of all, we did get some weapon balance. For the Ram 9 submachine gun, which no one's ever used, Bruin's heavy support is no longer able to be equipped without a compatible barrel. Got it. And then, so that doesn't matter, and I shouldn't have read it. Superi 46, this one is relevant. Max damage range decreased to 12.7 from 13.97 meters. So your first damage range was brought in a little bit. That is not the end of the world. It is meaningful. It does matter. Normally 2 meters of damage range, or not even, does not matter for long range guns, or very little anyway. But for SMGs, every like millimeter of first damage range matters a lot, because you're constantly going to be fighting, you know, in and out of like damage ranges. So that is a relevant nerf, but not a huge deal, I would say. However, we have removed the mid damage range. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it used to have 3 damage ranges, where damage range 1 did damage, damage range 2 it did less, and then damage range 3 it did even less than damage range 2. Damage range 2 is gone now, so it goes straight from damage range 1 to damage range 3. So in other words, massive nerf. Especially in conjunction with them bringing in the first damage range. So like if you have a built Superi 46, first of all, you're probably using the short barrel for the movement speed, which is already actually lowering your max damage range, I'm pretty sure. So that's not great. Now you might also be running like a suppressor, like a sonic suppressor that gives you some damage range, but actually the vast majority of people are not doing that. So now without a second damage range, here's the next patch note. Minimum damage of 25 now starts at 25.4 meters instead of 34.3 meters. Okay, so I guess it used to have 4 damage ranges, and now it has 3. That's why they used to say near mid. That makes sense.
It does. I'm looking at the chart right now. I guess True Game Data is just never going to update his website again in his life. So yeah.
So it used to have 4 damage ranges, and now it just has 3. So you are now doing minimum amount of damage at 25.4 meters instead of 34.3. That is pretty relevant. And especially when you compare this to the static, which is in the game, it's official. There is no reason to run this gun for any purpose at all. It's not the best sniper support gun. It's not the best tac stance SMG anymore. It's not the best ADS build SMG. There is quite literally no reason to run this gun. Virtually everything it does well, the static does better, period. With the exception of movement speed, but you're not getting that much more movement speed. Not enough for it to be worth it, in my opinion. So, rip Superi, F's in the chat. Don't really care though. The static's fun. But yeah, they have gutted this gun. And once again, Raven has just not been doing weapon balance well this year. It's official. And it's a shame. They haven't been doing Infinity Ward level of bad, but they've not been doing great, in my opinion.
They've kind of given up this year on it.
Yeah, it seems like they've thrown in that towel. Yeah.
I hope we don't see the same thing next year with BO6, because it's not been a great year for weapon balancing in general.
It really hasn't. Yeah. But at least it hasn't been, again, horrific.
I guess it really hasn't been honestly bad. It could be better in a lot of ways. Like a lot of guns could be buffed, but it's nowhere near the level we had last year. Last year was truly really, really bad. So
yes, but it's also not Caldera era Raven weapon balance either. Yeah, which was like the gold standard. So just wanted to point that out. But anyway, delete your Superi builds. So once again, the Core 45, the starting pistol, increased rate of fire to 450 RPM. And then a couple of bug fixes. Let's see. None of which are really relevant. So there you go. Not too many changes there. Main thing, really the only thing, frankly, was the Superi nerf. But most people were on the static already anyway, frankly. And honestly, if they never did this Superi buff, or nerf, excuse me, that we just talked about, I still would never run it over a static in its current state. I just don't see the reason to. So this seemed unnecessary, but ultimately not very impactful in my opinion. And yeah, another little thing here. This is not exactly a patch, but it is officially week 2 in the weekly challenge system thing. And the week 2 unlock is a new aftermarket part called the JAK Cataclysm, which is a conversion kit for the RPK light machine gun. And it makes the RPK a semi-auto 50 cal.
Yeah.
And the conversion kit changes your magazine to a 15 round mag of 50 cal ammo. So I tried this in Warzone. It does use sniper ammo, which is good because it's supposed to. And unfortunately, it's pretty bad in Warzone. The reason it's pretty bad in Warzone is manifold, probably, but the main problem is that using the conversion kit, like they've done with a lot of aftermarket parts that could otherwise be pretty good, it just blocks every attachment slot. So you can't run an ammo type, you can't run an underbarrel, you can't run a barrel. See ya. So
oh wow, really?
That's why the bullet velocity for the aftermarket part is so bad. It's not like the aftermarket part itself necessarily ruins the bullet velocity. In fact, I think it helps it. But since it doesn't let you run a barrel at all, that's what ruins the velocity. I can't, or an ammo type. Those are the two big things that you would do if you wanted more bullet velocity, and you simply can't run an attachment there at all if you run this. So the only thing you can do for a little extra velocity is a muzzle. But I think the maximum velocity you can get is like 778 meters per second, which is abysmal. So I was trying this today in Warzone a little bit with Cope. It hits really hard, to be fair. I think it's like a 3-shot down anywhere, like in the toe. So kind of like the KV inhibitor vibes, although I think the fire rate's a little lower than that. But the big problem is...
Yeah, you keep saying inhibitor everywhere. Are you talking about the MTZ interceptor when that was meta?
Yes, which is what I said.
Got it. Okay, yeah. You were confusing me when you were saying that in Discord. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I also typed. So,
yeah,
but the big problem is just the velocity is just miserable, especially when you're used to, what's it called? Using like the STG and the Eradicator and the ball and all these other ARs that have a ton of velocity, like 1500 or something. It feels very jarring to use. So I was using it today for a little bit with Cope, and when I was hitting shots, it did feel like it killed really fast, but it felt like bad hit reg, but I knew it was velocity actually. Like it was just weird feeling. And like shots you don't think are going to hit, were hitting. And then shots I did think were going to hit, were not hitting. Very awkward to use. It's also got a decent amount of recoil. And I don't know if your reticle centers before you can refire. That could have also been accounting for why I was missing shots I felt like I should have been hitting. I don't really know. So like I could put more time in and maybe it would get easier to land shots. I'm sure that is the case, but still, if you're trying to hit people quite far away, I wouldn't trust it, basically, especially with how good a lot of full auto guns are right now. I ultimately don't really see a reason to run it. And I said unfortunately, but honestly, if it's 3-shotting anywhere, kind of glad it's not good, because I would not want to go back to the dog poop meta we had with the MTZ interceptor. That was just a disaster that they had to nerf like 3 separate times. So yeah.
I've seen some clips of it when it started going around yesterday, and some of the streamers were like, oh, this is going to be a problem. But every single clip the person they were shooting was 30, 40 meters away, like looking the other direction or not shooting back. So I don't know. Jake and I just played 2 games right before the pod, and I didn't see it one time. So I don't know. I predict it's not going to be really used too often at all. And if it does, this is one of those guns where they would just nerf it anyways. So either way, we don't have to worry about this, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, sure. So it is. So it's a 2-shot to the chest at certain ranges, at most ranges. So that's only a 450 millisecond time to kill if you hit both of your shots as fast as you can hit them. So on paper, it can be really, really good. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be like a broken, overpowered gun that people run.
Yeah, yeah. And to be fair, rather, even if it did have the same velocity that the Interceptor had, it also does handle much slower than even the Interceptor. ADS is slower than like the Cat. I haven't used a Cat in a long time, but ADS is really slow. I posted a clip of me using it actually in our Discord in the clips channel if you guys want to see the ADS speed. It's not great. I could have built it for faster ADS, but not much faster than that. It's really bad too. So yeah. And the reload speed sucks. So it's got a lot working against it for that time to kill. So you guys can try it. It is fun when you hit your shots, to be clear, but it's so inconsistent feeling. I just don't really think it's ever going to be meta. And honestly, I'm kind of glad for that. So other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it for patches or changes that have already happened. Now we will get into the meat and the potatoes of today's episode, which was the talk of the TL for a while. SBMM white paper number 2. So Call of Duty put out a blog post in addition to a new white paper. And for those of you who did not get bullied in school, a white paper is like a super technical, like, you know, paper, I guess, with lots of words, big words, and intimidating words.
Oh, way too many words.
That we will not be reading. It's complicated. There's graphs, there's stats, there's words like delta and standard deviation and all kinds of complicated, scary things that we will absolutely not be reading. However, luckily for you guys and us, they also put out a little blog post kind of summarizing what the white paper basically says. We're also not going to be reading that, to be clear. We're also not reading that, but we're going to select a couple little key takeaways from it. And we're basically going to give you the TLDR and our thoughts on it, because a lot of people have been talking about this. We figure we'll throw our hats in the ring. Although, like, JGod put out a video, I watched it today, on this topic, and he kind of echoed a lot of the things I already felt. I have a couple other thoughts that he didn't mention that we'll get into. But yeah, they write a lot of words, big words. Matchmaking series, the role of skill in matchmaking. So they talk about how connection is king, they're lying, but also there are a bunch of other factors to determine what kind of lobby you get into in multiplayer. By the way, this is technically about multiplayer matchmaking, like unranked multiplayer. That's technically what this is about. But this almost certainly also applies to Warzone. There's no reason it wouldn't. It would just be some variables would be slightly different. Obviously, there are 120 people, not, 12. But it still obviously applies to Warzone as well, insofar as it's applicable. So anyway,
yeah. I was thinking maybe they're just saying, multiplayer because like they're multiplayer games, but it does say right here in core multiplayer. So yeah. But yeah, it'd be the same thing for Warzone.
Yeah. So again, they write a lot of words, big words. And what I mainly want to talk about is this. As our technology and expertise has evolved, our team has increased our matchmaking tests and analyses over the last 5 years, always working to provide the best experience for players. For example, one study focused on, don't call it a study, focused on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 conducted across North America. So this year in this game, compared a control group of players without any changes to matchmaking to players who experienced loosened skill consideration in matchmaking. So basically, for however long the study took place, I don't know if it says it in the white paper, but it doesn't say it in the blog post. I'm assuming they did this for like a week. They took a control group of players, and they loosened SBMM for those people. And here's what they say. The test showed that players with a wider skill gap were more likely to quit matches in progress and did not return to the game at a higher rate than players with unchanged matchmaking. Read about this test and more here, whatever. Here are a few summary findings that impacted the overall community. So here are the 3 things that I wanted to talk about. So the first one is, as a result of this test, here's what they found. Increased match quit rates. The likelihood for a player to quit during a match increased significantly across 80% of players within the study. Okay, so here's what I wrote. I'm just going to read exactly what I wrote. Doing this test for a week, or however long they did the test for, is not going to give you representative results of how loosening SBMM long-term would impact player behavior. Players have been conditioned over the last 5 years of having strict SBMM to never facing anyone good ever if they are average or low skill. So of course, if they get into some anomalous lobby where there are actually really good players on the other team, they're going to leave, but that's because the system has conditioned them this way because they know that's an anomaly, so they'll back out, queue into another lobby, and there won't be a good player on the other team anymore. If I'm trash and I'm getting rolled, but I know that this is a fluke since SBMM is otherwise so tight, of course I'm going to quit and re-queue more often because I know my next lobby, again, is going to be very likely to not have any demons in it. But if SBMM is always loose or not always non-existent, then eventually I'm going to learn that quitting out when I see a good player is not going to work for me because there's always going to be a good player in my lobby. I'm going to have to figure it out. And eventually I'll just stick it out and actually try to improve or get better like we all did in old Call of Duties before MW 2019. Not to mention, by the way, if you removed SBMM but did strict team balancing, that would mean a low-skilled player would be facing a really high-skilled player, but they'd also have a really high-skilled player on their own team to counteract that. So that's number one. Here's the next finding they have. Actually, do you have any comment on their first little point?
No, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, it's like people, you expect what you've been dealing with for primarily since MW 19 came out. So yep. It's like, yeah, why would, of course you're just going to leave.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then here's their next point. Return to matchmaking. Within the sample study group, 90% of players in the loosened skill group did not return at a higher rate than the control group. So JGod made a very good point on this sentence when he was talking about this. Just because they didn't return at a higher rate doesn't mean they returned at a lower rate. So it's pretty sussy that they said that. Because that could mean, that very well could mean that they returned at an equal rate to the control group, which is to say the group with normal SBMM.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So, and in fact, that probably is what that means.
That's what they do. They use very specific words to get around. Like, it's the same things when it comes to their, like, shareholder meetings. The way, like, there's always an increase in something, or, they can always make something sound really good on paper, but leave other really bad things out that, of course, they're not going to talk about. And this seems like one of those things. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
It's a great point, and I didn't even catch that, which is a shame because my roommate spent a lot of money on a college education in philosophy. I'm supposed to catch things like that. I did not. But Jacob pointed that out, and I was like, oh, you're right. Yeah. Sneaky little tactic.
Sneaky dogs.
If it was a lower rate of returning to matchmaking in the loosened SBMM group versus the normal SBMM group, they absolutely would have said that.
Certainly. Yes, they would. Yep.
There would be no reason for them not to, because they're trying to justify why SBMM is the way it is. But since they didn't, it's very likely that this just means equal, basically. But they want to imply that it actually means lower. That's what they're doing. And Activision loves doing this. Lies by omission, lies by cherry picking, lies by sneaky language. I mean, this is, anyway, we'll talk more about that at the end. So they go on. This indicated that low to mid-skill players left the game in greater numbers. That's actually not what it indicates, for the reasons we just said. The net effect of this was a decrease in the overall player population across the study group. Therefore, the likely result of this compounding over time will lead to player populations that feature only higher skilled players at increasing rates. Okay, so let's assume that in the normal SBMM, or the loosened SBMM group, people were leaving the game at a greater rate than the normal SBMM group was. Let's assume that's what they meant, because it actually does sound like they're implying that with the next sentences. I don't really know. But anyways, this is only true if you assume the behavior of low-skilled players during your 1 week or however long test could be extrapolated to how their behavior would be if loser SBMM was always in effect, which it wouldn't be for the reasons mentioned in the last point. Also, how does this account for the fact that in every Call of Duty prior to MW 2019, which is the current iteration of SBMM, plenty of bad players played those games all the time also? How do you explain that?
Yeah.
In similar numbers, by the way, also. It's not like the Call of Duty player base when COD 4 came out was much smaller than it is now, or MW 2. I would argue maybe at some points it was actually higher, if you counted all the platforms in both cases. So how do you explain terrible players playing the game then when you didn't have SBMM at all like you have now? You really only had team balancing. But again, yeah, like, if you're just doing this test for a week, again, you've conditioned all of your players to never face a good opponent. So if I'm low skilled and I see a really good opponent and they're like destroying me, yeah, I'm going to leave and just re-queue, because I know that my next lobby won't have a good player in it because I know SBMM exists. Or that's been my experience, even if I don't know it. But that's only because I know how that works, and that's how the system works and has worked for years now. If you just turned it off long term, people would return to matchmaking more again, even if your little 1 week test showed that they left at a greater rate and didn't come back. It doesn't matter, because you can't extrapolate this behavior if you only do a 1 week test. So
yeah.
And then the last point I think is their weakest point: blowouts. Matches where blowouts, a score delta greater than 30, meaning one team is winning by 30 or more, increased across all skill levels in TDM as one example. This is just bad team balancing or bad luck, frankly. If one team is getting completely shit pissed and farted on, it's because you've put most of the best players on one team, and that shouldn't ever happen. If you split the best players in the lobby up evenly, this will usually not happen. This is obvious, by the way. Like, one good player is not going to constitute a blowout TDM match where you're losing by more than 30. That's not how that works, unless he's the only really good player in the entire lobby. And that's only possible when you have strict SBMM and that guy is reverse boosting and stunting on all the paraplegics. That's what happens. Or quadriplegics, actually. Paraplegics can play fine. That's why that exists. So if you have looser SBMM, that means there are going to be at least 2 good players in the same lobby of 12 people. And then all you have to do is split them up. Put good player 1 on team A, good player 2 on team B. And then you do, again, the same way. Rank them by skill. Put even seed on team A, odd seeds on team B. You've solved it. Congratulations. That's how it worked in BO4 and every COD game before that, or virtually every one. And guess what? Blowouts were pretty uncommon. The only time there would be blowouts is when you would be 6 stacking. So your entire team is you and your friends, and there's no matchmaking system on Earth that's going to make that fair, unless you put them against another 6 stack, which, to their credit, they try to do. But if they can't do it,
yeah, then that is how it would work in BO4. Yes,
it is. Yeah, but so again, like, yeah, blowouts happen more often when you had looser SBMM. That just means you, and also you only had a small experiment group where you loosened SBMM. If looser SBMM existed for everyone, there would be more good players in the same lobby mixed with bad players rather than just one guy. So of course there aren't going to be blowouts because you'd split up the good players between the two teams. So this is just a terrible point that I don't even understand why they included, frankly. But like, I concede that blowouts aren't fun for really anyone, honestly. I don't find it particularly fun on the winning side, and I certainly don't find it fun on the losing side. No one wants that. So like, that's implicit in what they're saying here. And I agree with that, but loosening SBMM is not causing blowouts. Loosening SBMM for not enough people so that only one good person is in a terrible lobby is what's causing blowouts. But that's because you only loosened SBMM for a couple people. Get a bunch of get 2, 3, 4 good people in a lobby with average or below average players, split them up evenly. You're not going to have blowouts still. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's pretty much it. They talk more about, basically they say they tried also the, what do they say? The inverse, of this. So another example was a test to Titan skill in MW3. This had inverse results consistent with the results of the loosening test. Quit rate was down for 90% of players, and we saw other improvements in the experience of low skill players. However, we observed negative impacts for high skill players. As a result, this change was not rolled out as a standard approach. So TLDR, they're not going to loosen or tighten SBMM. Wow, I'm so surprised that that's the case. Duh. And then they say a lot of huge words, massive words, none of which matters. Again, I've read all of this, so I'm just cherry picking what's relevant here. Let's see. Yeah, and then they say if we loosened SBMM based on the results of our test, which caused lower skilled players to leave more and not come back, over time, if you extrapolate that, that means the only remaining players in your player base are going to be high skill players, and then loose SBMM is not going to save you because of course you're going to get matched against other high skill players because we forced all the low skill players out of the game by having loose SBMM. And again, that argument does not apply. Why were there terrible players playing BO4 and every other older COD game? And also, you only did the test for a week or a month or whatever. You didn't do it forever. So you conditioned your players to just quit and come back on a different day when they can get their SBMM tight again. Yeah. So, yeah. And then there's some FAQ questions, none of which matters. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm reading over. They're not.
Yeah, none of these were
interesting
relevant. At all. This last one was super stupid. Has Call of Duty considered launching a single core multiplayer playlist that does not use skill as a factor in matchmaking? Whoever asked this question is dumb. Who do you think is queuing for this? This would be the sweatiest lobby you can play in Call of Duty. You'd have to do it everywhere or it doesn't matter. This would be a terrible sweaty lobby. So that would not solve the problem or be fun. But anyway, yeah, that was pretty much it on that. So there are a couple other things though on this topic I do want to point out as well. So Charlie Intel tweeted about this and said, Activision revealed the results of the MW3 multiplayer test where skill factor was reduced for 50% of players in NA. Oh, wow. It was reduced for 50% of players. Oh, okay. I still stand by my blowouts point though. The team balancing isn't good if the score delta is greater than 30, period. This chart shows player retention percentage based on skill rating. Lower to mid skill players saw retention decline. Only the highest skill bucket had an increase. So I'll pull that up here. And Nero Cinema had a reply to this tweet, among other people. That was a great point. And I'm going to read. So here you can see the chart. This is difference in players returning within 14 days during the deprioritized skill test. So the only people who were coming back more were the highest skill bucket players, the best players. You can see them here. Now, by the way, let's take a quick look at this graph. This looks like a huge bar, right? Oh, wow. These low skill players are not returning after 2 weeks in this skill test. That's really bad for the game, right? Well, let's take a look at the left side here. Minus 1.75%. People in the second to worst skill bucket were, fewer of them were returning, but 1.75% fewer of them. Not that much.
Yeah.
Pretty small, actually. Pretty small percentage, first of all.
Very small.
So, again, the graph looks scary. This looks like a ton of people.
They make graphs look
because the bar
scary.
is so huge. Yeah, but it's like, it's not even 2%. So, the impact for every skill bucket, marginal. Very marginal amount of more returning players in the high skill bucket. Very marginal amount for the low skill players not returning or returning less often in the lower skill buckets. Incredibly marginal. This is all sub 2%. And for everyone but 2 skill buckets, it's sub 1% difference. In the margin of error, maybe, I would argue. What is the margin of error? They didn't tell us. That's interesting. Almost like they can just lie by omission. Very interesting. Anyways, in reply to this graph, by the way, Nero Cinema tweeted, I might be reading this wrong, but doesn't it show everyone besides the top % of players are all just leaving? Couldn't that just be a case of COD being stale or people not being invested in general, regardless of the test? It sure could mean that, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it's likely it means that. Who are the players who are going to constantly be playing the game, no matter what state it's in, no matter how stale it is? The most hardcore, sweaty, no-life kids, who are going to tend to be the high skill bucket kids. Who is casual and not playing, whether there's a skill-based matchmaking test or not? Casuals who just get bored and go play Fortnite updates. That's just gonna happen anyway, isn't it? So yeah, this could very easily represent people just getting bored with the game and leaving, regardless of the test. In fact, if they didn't do the test at all and they showed us a graph, I would venture to say it would look almost exactly identical. In fact, interesting. Interesting point and a great point. And who are the people that are most likely to play the game and then not return for 2 weeks? Again, the low skilled players, because low skilled players are casual players, and casual players are never going to constantly be coming back to COD anyway. That's what casual means. They're going to move on to the next game or the next update or whatever. So that was another great point too. So yeah, the white paper was trash, and that was a great reply by Nero Cinema to that little graph. So there's a lot more that could be said about this, but I'm going to kind of sum up with a couple little points here. Also, with SBMM, so the TLDR basically is they kind of tried to gaslight us into saying SBMM is perfect. We're not going to tighten it because that's bad, and we're not going to loosen it because that's bad too. Here's the proof of it. And it was all kind of misleading and shitty. But again, given that SBMM is not changing, how do I play with my terrible friends? I'm above average, and I have friends who are not above average. They're in fact below average. Some of them are average, some of them are above average, some of them are far below average, far below average. What if I want to have a casual game of unranked multiplayer with my shit friend? Well, I don't, actually. Here's the answer, I don't. Because here's what happens. Hey, Billy, 0.7 KD, 0.5 KD, whatever. Invite me to your lobby. Let's play some casual, relaxed, fun, unranked Dom in multiplayer, or small map mosh pit, whatever. Okay, he invites me. We queue. The match ends, and he has gone 2-60. Is he gonna? How's his player retention? How's Billy's player retention? Because you just sodomized his butt for having the audacity to play with one of his friends who happens to be in a higher skill bucket, as you call it, than he is. He's never going to play with me again, that's for sure. He's probably never going to play at all again because he doesn't know how SBMM works. And he just thinks, oh, everyone that plays this game is insane. I'm done. I'm never playing again. So how do you play with your friends of different skill level? Their answer, again, is to just take the highest KD person in there and put you in that lobby. And I've seen this happen over the last 5 years. I mean, dozens of times where I'll have like some casual and we'll like try and play multiplayer and they're like, oh my God, these lobbies are insane. And it's like, yeah, sorry, dude. Like, you get actually different lobbies when you don't queue with me. Like, I understand. I get it. But it sucks for them and it sucks for me, because what if I want to play with my friend? Or what if my friend wants to play with me? We're just going to punish him because, like, he has a friend that's better? That sucks.
Yeah. That was the MW3 beta this year. Remember when Ben played with me for a few matches? And then he texted me and he was like, dude, I can't do this. Like, these lobbies are insane. Because Ben, if he were to play by himself with SBMM, Ben would probably be in COD multiplayer like a 0.7 to 0.8 KD. Not that bad at all. He's not terrible.
Yeah, he's not.
But still, just playing with me even, he could not do it at all. He was getting farmed. And he never bought the game, by the way. If he had played the beta with me and enjoyed it and thought, hey, this is a cool game I can play with my friend, he probably would have bought it. Gabe probably would have bought it too. But we can't all play together. It's just not possible. So what do we do instead? We go play Battlefield. Because everybody sucks and there's no skill-based matchmaking.
Right, exactly.
And you get random lobbies or you'll be getting farmed by some guy in a attack helicopter with 200 kills and 4 deaths, and we'll be trying to shoot him down the whole time. And the next game, nobody on their team can even get 20 kills. It's just different every single time, every lobby you get into, which also makes it interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's a prime example right there. Ben never bought the game because of how bad the beta was for him. And he's not the guy that's going to play COD multiplayer alone to begin with, to be fair. But he would have bought it to play with us, and he just, I mean, he can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's same thing with Warzone. Somebody like them, I haven't asked any of them to play Warzone since 2020 because I know I'm like I even tell them like they talk like, oh, like how's Warzone right now? And I was like, no, don't, like we won't be able to play together. Like you will not have fun. You will not be able to learn. You'll never be able to get better. You're not going to do none of that's going to happen because the kids that I'm playing against are in the World Series of Warzone. literally in the World Series of Warzone. Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, no, it's just this is a horrible game to play with your friends. And we do not play I do not play Call of Duty with any of my real life friends. We play every other first person shooter on the market except for Call of Duty. Yeah. Because you can.
Yeah. 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 And that really sucks. I mean, a lot, obviously. It sucks for us and it sucks for them. Because now I can't play with my friends because they don't want to play. And they can't play the game with their friends either because they don't want to play. It's just terrible. So anyway, another point. This is why people reverse boost in multi-box. So Nixta lobbies are brought to you by SBMM. It wouldn't make sense. There would be no reason to multi-box if there was not SBMM. But that's why he does it. To get in these terrible lobbies. Full of people who are not good, or reverse boosting, like what's the guy's name? What's that Asian guy's name? Makes YouTube videos. He got caught. He got exposed.
Korean Savage.
Korean Savage. Yeah. Korean Savage.
Korean Savage lobby.
Korean Savage got caught reverse boosting to get into terrible lobbies so that he could just clown them and get like a triple nuke with no attachment deagle on shipment. Like, that shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be possible for anyone to do that. But it is possible when and only when you have SBMM, because you can be a really good player, purposefully ruin your skill rating, your hidden skill rating, according to Activision, by reverse boosting, which means you play like 10 games in a row and you just purposely die over and over. So then it puts you in the worst skill bucket, even though you're not a bad player at all. And then you press the record button and say, hey, YouTube, watch this. And you 360 no scope just dunk on grandmas and disabled people. How's that lobby, by the way, ruined? I mean, completely ruined that lobby. And the only reason that's happening is because you have really strict SBMM. Whereas if you had loose SBMM, Korean Savage would be against those people sometimes, but those people would also have another Korean Savage on their own team because there would be random assortments of skill level players in the lobby, and then you could break them up between the two teams and it would be pretty fair. Most of the time. which is what we all experienced prior to MW19 in multiplayer constantly. So yeah, if Nixta lobbies offend you, if VPNers offend you, if reverse boosters offend you, none of these things would make any sense to do, and no one would do them, and they would have no effect if it were not for SBMM. So keep that in mind. And then last point, to be clear, we just wasted your time. Oops. Because none of this matters. Absolutely none of it matters. They could be lying, first of all, although I doubt they are. They could be purposefully obfuscating with misleading stats, or by cherry picking what data they show and don't show, which they absolutely are doing, to be clear. And most importantly, they will not change how SBMM works, no matter how much you whine or mauled or I do or anyone does. The only thing that's going to have them change their matchmaking system is if they think whatever change they are going to make is going to earn them more money. That's all they care about. That is all they will ever care about. Frankly, that's all they should care about. I don't necessarily blame them for that, but I just think they're wrong that this is making them more money than having looser SBMM. I think they're just wrong about that. But that's not what their data shows. And there is like some common sense to why they're doing what they're doing and them thinking that makes them more money. And it is hard to run studies on this because, again, running a 1 week study is not going to give you representative results. You'd have to run it for a long time, but they're not going to be willing to do that. And like, I understand that. And they might not even realize that they need to do that to get representative results for the reasons we talked about earlier. But all of that is to say, SBMM is not going anywhere. It's not changing in any meaningful way, probably ever. And stay mad about it. No matter how flawed it is, whatever, they're not going to change. They don't care about you. They don't care about the top skill bucket player. You don't represent 5% of their player base. They don't care about you. So it just doesn't matter, unfortunately. They're going to do what they think makes them the most money. And if the results of this white paper were bad for them, guess what they would have done? Not published it. Period. If they couldn't have massaged this with obfuscation and cherry picking in a way that justifies, in their eyes, this SBMM system, they would have just not released it. So like, of course, how many studies did they run and not talk about? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter, unfortunately. So, yeah. Chris, with the 1999 United States Greenbacks, waste my time and take my money. Done. You got it. I will take your money and I will waste your time and everyone else's. Thank you, Chris, for the $20 super chat, Chief. We appreciate it. All right. Anyway, any other thoughts on SBMM, Tanner?
No.
Got it.
Yeah, it's boring. It doesn't matter. None of it's changing. Doesn't have any effect. Yeah, it'll be like this forever. So yeah, it will be. So today's episode is brought to you by our Patreon, where we offer our members all of our episodes early access and ad-free. Starting at just $5 a month at the gold tier, patrons also get 3 raw, uncensored Call of Duty bonus episodes each and every month, in addition to, of course, every bonus episode we've ever done in the past and a unique Discord role as well. We just released 2 bonus episodes at the end of the month of July, the first of which last week was our very first mixed bag episode. So we took a lot of little micro topics, both from our own little brains and from you guys, and talked about them. So they were basically episode topics that wouldn't constitute a full episode on their own. So for example, someone suggested we talk about what is necessary for a healthy long range meta. So we talked about that for like 10-15 minutes. So it's not like a full episode, but we bundled a bunch of things like that and then did a full episode that way. And that was really good, really fun. And our patrons that have listened to it already have loved it. And we even made our own little chat channel for micro topic suggestions for mixed bag episodes. And then after that, our most recent Patreon episode was on season 5. We talked about the anti-cheat and to what degree it actually works, Superstore and our evolving opinion on that, the current gun meta and attachment meta and stuff, and more.
That was also quite a good episode, and all of our patrons could listen to that as well, including you, if you signed up. If you wanted more content, you could go platinum at $10 a month, where you'd get everything from the gold tier alongside one Anything Goes Q&A episode, where only you guys can ask the questions or hear the answers. Q&As publicly will now only be Call of Duty and gaming related questions that we will answer, so if you wanted to hear us talk about anything other than that, you'd have to join the Patreon. And once you sign up at Platinum, you get access to that Q&A questions channel where you can ask us literally whatever you want. And those are always fan favorites. And then Damascus at $20 a month, if you wanted even more, gets you all of that, plus a behind the scenes episode every month. Those are the absolute favorite episodes. A monthly Damascus only patron hangout, and access to the most active Discord channel we have, the Damascus Lounge. If you hated hearing this ad, stay upset about it. Plus there are timestamps. So I don't know why you're so mad, man. You can skip it so easily, especially on YouTube, where some guy was like, hey, put the fries in the bag, Unk. We're not joining your Patreon. Many people are, by the way, kid, but also, you commented this on YouTube, brother. The timestamps are so easy. Just skip it. Or join the Patreon. Better yet, patreon.com/thedropshot. Let's get back to the show. Moving on from that, on the topic of SBMM, you know what another great thing about SBMM is that's super awesome? As someone in the highest skill bucket, because I queue with children, I get carried, is that in that SBMM bucket, that big bucket, that highest bucket, if anyone's cheating, they're in my lobby. Fun. Yeah. And to that effect, I experienced that this weekend. Call of Duty Updates did a tweet recently. I don't know what day it was. Ricochet anti-cheat resolved an issue with the detection system over the weekend, which resulted in a spike in cheater reports. For clarity, Ricochet is able to detect this specific platform for all users, despite how they may appear in game. If you suspect a player in your lobby is cheating, regardless of what platform they're on, we recommend you submit a report in game for further investigation. So for literally any of you that are decent at this game and played this weekend in multiplayer or Warzone, but probably especially Warzone since it's free to play, you may have noticed you were getting absolutely posterized all day, every day, just dunked on. And that's because, oops, Ricochet hiccuped or something, and cheaters were everywhere. And I sure experienced it. We played on Sunday. It was miserable dog shit and trash. Everyone was constantly aware every single gunfight. I was never not pre-aimed in a gunfight. I was never not chased to the precise satellite GPS coordinates of my location ever for any game on Sunday, and it was a disaster, just getting face fucked. Not fun. Then I played on Monday after this had happened, and all of a sudden I'm winning games again, I'm getting kills again. Sometimes I see a guy and he doesn't know I'm there or exactly where I am. It was crazy. And that's because Ricochet did an oopsie whoopsie or something. So we talked about this on Patreon, and I'll say again what I said then, which is that it turns out Ricochet actually does do something. It doesn't do enough, but boy, was this weekend way worse than normal. So even though there still are cheaters all the time, they are not as bad as when there is like literally no Ricochet, which was this weekend, which was pretty crazy. So I'm giving Ricochet more credit than I ever have before, but still not nearly enough, obviously, basically. So if you played this weekend and you haven't gotten back on, it's safe. It's as safe as it normally is, I should say, which is relatively unsafe, but not a complete disaster like this weekend was.
It's probably safer than normal. I logged on before the pod to play 2 games. I logged on to 3 successful cheat reports. And then mid-game, as we're playing, and I hadn't reported anyone, I got another notification on the top right of my screen saying successful cheat report. So I got a total of 4. So that's probably just from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the last 3 mornings. Did I play every morning? I don't even think I played one of the days. So that's from 2 mornings of playing, probably 4 successful cheat reports.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, honestly, because Joe Woes has ever only seen probably 2 cheaters in this game. So
meh.
That's cool. Yeah.
Meh. Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah.
Okay, shut up.
Joe Woe just loves COD Next and going there also. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And then, by the way, on that vein, COD Updates made another tweet. To ensure clarity for our players, we've deployed an update to differentiate the in-game UI icons displayed for Xbox and for PC players who are using Game Pass. So one of the conspiracy theories over the weekend was that PC players were using Game Pass to play Warzone, and then they were rage hacking. And since their icon showed them as playing on Xbox, no one would report them because they assumed you can't cheat on console. So they were able to just like cheat with impunity, basically. So to get around that, basically COD did an update where like they'll show as on PC still now if that happens. So there you go. And then still on the topic of cheaters, here's another tweet from Charlie Intel showing a little picture. 2 additional cheat providers for Call of Duty have been shut down today after legal notices from Activision, including Raging Nation and Stealthware. And then here's a little picture of a post from Raging Nation, which is, I guess, one of them, which I won't be reading. Dear Raging Nation community, imagine being a part of the Raging Nation aimbot community. Yikes. Yeah.
Yikes. Raging Nation.
Thank you all for supporting us through today. End your own lives. Cringe. So that's a W, I guess, but is it going to have any actual impact? No, probably not. But I like that the people that were making money off of creating cheats can no longer do that. That's good. That makes me smile. That makes me happy. And the people who are using these cheats can't use them anymore. That's good, I guess. There's no world where this isn't good. It's just not that good, basically. It's not going to matter. It's not going to be that impactful. People are still going to cheat. New cheat companies are going to come up. It apparently isn't that hard to cheat in Call of Duty after all, because you can be a World Series of Warzone competitor and never be exposed unless you get tattled on. Shout out to Vexo. So, yeah, okay, but cool, I guess. Thought I'd point it out.
Absolutely. The report notifications aren't ricochets. The report system ricochet is still a joke. Well, the report that I'm talking about is the one saying it was a successful report that led to the ban of somebody. So I don't get what you mean. It's not the one saying like, thanks for reporting somebody. It's the one saying confirmation successful. You got somebody banned. That's the one I'm talking about. But yeah, anyways, yeah, the thing is we talked about with these cheat providers is they just open back up under a different name. So who knows? It's like, who knows what other names Raging Nation has gone by before. They've probably been 3 other companies before, and then they put out the same exact product under a new name, under a new filing, LLC, however they have to do it. I have no idea, but yeah. Cool. So then last thing here, not related to Call of Duty that I saw was interesting today, is Season 22 of Apex Legends. They are removing all aim flinch from all guns and abilities. So, you know, Call of Duty has flinch right now, which has been a complaint for us for a while now. Some things need flinch. Like if you're holding a sniper that can one-shot, you need to take flinch and you need to not be able to pinpoint accurately hit me in the head from across the map. You know, like when I'm actually doing damage to you. That needs to do something, but it's interesting because they're getting rid of flinch on all like the full auto guns. And they showed a little clip. It went from flinch to literally nothing. Like they removed all of it, which I think is interesting. And it'd be cool if COD did something like that too. We don't have a ton of flinch right now as it is, but lowering that even more along with like visual recoil, that'd be great for the game. And I think a lot of people end up liking that. And then the other thing that's really interesting is aim assist is being reduced on PC by 25%. So I don't know if console has different aim assist than PC. It must, because it says console players in PC lobbies will now have 0.3% or 0.3 value of aim assist, whatever that value means, or instead of 0.6. So
I think
they're reducing that by 25%.
I think that's because if you're on console, you're only facing other people on console. So since everyone has aim assist in those lobbies, they don't feel the need to reduce the aim assist, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas since these would be the cross-play lobbies, they want to reduce it. That's my guess. Because, yeah, that is weird to only do it on PC lobbies. That's my assumption.
But, yeah, so I saw this going around. A lot of people are like, oh, even like J-God said something, hey, it'd be great if they reduced aim assist in Call of Duty, but unfortunately, a game like COD, they're just not going to do that. Because I think he kind of said something along the lines of like the SBMM white paper, how they claim it wouldn't be good for their bottom line or whatever. But yeah, this is really interesting to see, honestly, because Apex has like Apex aim assist as aimbot. Yeah, in a game with that amount of mobility and movement, it's crazy.
And time to kill.
Yeah, exactly.
When the time to kill is as long as Apex,
it's double of Warzone. Yeah.
That becomes super relevant. Like in Warzone, if you're on KBAM and you need to track someone for whatever 700 milliseconds and not miss a bullet to get it down. In Apex, it's like 2.5 seconds probably if they have like their full shields and armor or whatever. And doing that without any aim assistance is incredibly difficult. The longer you have to stay on target if you're aiming yourself, the harder it is to do, obviously. So aim assist becomes more and more powerful the longer and longer the time to kill is. So yeah, in Apex that is interesting. I am not plugged in or tuned into the Apex scene at all. I know of Apex. I've played it a fair amount, probably a couple hours in my life.
A couple hours, got it.
But I'm not like, I've never been like an Apex main or anything. But I'm familiar enough with the game. I'm just not tuned in enough to the community to know why they did this. If this could have been seen coming, I don't know, but it's pretty crazy. This is the first time since the crossplay Gutenberg level revolution we've had in 2019, 2020. Ever that I've seen aim assist be nerfed for a video game. I've never seen it since crossplay has been enabled.
Did Fortnite or some other game did it? I feel like this year or last year, and I think we talked about it.
Maybe it's been done.
What game would that have been?
I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember this at all.
COD is just way too casual to ever do something like this, of course. Talk about something that would probably reduce their player counts. Yeah, it would be reducing that. Because the bad players don't realize how much it's helping them. They refuse to believe it. So
unfortunately, I think you're absolutely correct, which is one of the reasons why they won't lower the aim assist ever. But also, it makes me doubly upset because if they had just never made it as strong as it is now in the first place, then we wouldn't be in this predicament. Because everyone playing now would likely still be playing anyway. But once you give them the toy, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Can't rip it away from him, man.
Yeah, it would be a disaster. And to be clear, there should be aim assist, but basically rotational aim assist needs to require player input on the right stick before your reticle starts moving. Your reticle should never move if you're not moving your right stick. That's like my only position, and this is somehow a hot take to many of you. That like you should have to move your right stick for your character's point of aim to move on your screen. Somehow that's a hot take. Somehow that is too underpowered. Okay, you should still get aim assist, but you should also have to do something for your
at least slide it in the correct. At least slide this the correct direction.
Anywhere, honestly.
You can slightly put it left and it'll still drag right when somebody runs around the corner. So that's not cool. That would still
be a massive improvement. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that. Yeah. But anyways.
That wouldn't be the best solution, but it would still be better than what we have now.
So.
Oh yeah. Many people probably. So anyways, the aim flinch thing though is kind of weird. Completely remove aim flinch from all guns.
I think it makes sense on a game like that. I've never played Apex, but like you were saying, with that very slow time to kill, missing shots due to stupid aim punch when you are shooting somebody and they turn around and start shooting you back and then you miss a few bullets here and there. I like that. I think it's good that they're I don't know about removing it entirely. Like it's actually 0. Maybe they should have just heavily nerfed it, but I don't know. I don't like any of that junk. Same thing with like visual recoil, sway. I would rather Call of Duty have no aiming idle sway at all. Other than on like snipers can have some that have you know, like one shot potential. But every single gun in COD should not have idle aim sway whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I could potentially get on board with that.
That was something else, actually, that was back in COD 4 competitive on PC, the mod that we played, same thing. They took away aim sway. That was one of the things that they changed. So you didn't have any idle aim sway. Wherever you didn't even have hold breath on snipers anymore. Those even had no sway.
That seems awfully strong.
They changed some things, though, too. Like, after you shot, it automatically un-ADS'd while it rechambered around, where in core, you could stay ADS. So there are some other things they changed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. But on that point, aim flinch in COD, like Tanner said, obviously, snipers need to have flinch. If you're getting shot with a sniper, you better be flinching. I'll be furious if they took that away. Not that they ever will. But on regular guns, aim flinch, I think, like, if it got removed, I think I'd be fine with that. But if it didn't get removed, I think I'd also be fine with that, honestly. Like, if I'm, you know, if we're playing Warzone and, like, some guy is running across perpendicular to me and I start shooting him, I should kind of be rewarded for, like, getting first shots on, where he's going to have to start shooting me back through flinch, whereas I'm not experiencing flinch since I shot first. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm, like, probably okay with that. Although another thing people complain about with aim flinch, which is a lot more relevant in multiplayer, and I do sympathize with this point, I would have to think about it more. Maybe I am in favor of removing flinch from, like, ARs, for example. Because another thing people will mauled about is I started shooting this guy first in multiplayer, and then he turned on me and aimed at my stomach, and then he got a lucky flinch to my head, and then he killed me first, just purely through luck because he got aim punched to my head.
Yes, and that does happen.
And it does happen a lot. And
more than you realize, probably.
There is no skill to that. So, like, when you look at it that way, maybe I would be in favor of flinch getting removed for, like, ARs and stuff. I'd have to think about it more, but regardless, like I said, either way, I don't think I really care. But all of this is a moot point. They're not taking flinch away from COD. So, but it is interesting to note. Yeah, I actually would have included this because I think Jake turned me on to the Apex aim assist nerf. I would have included this if I remembered to. Yeah.
So all we did today was waste your time. Whoever you listening to this, we wasted your time talking about SBMM, and then we wasted your time talking about AA. So thanks for letting us waste your time today, guys.
Yep. And and this episode was chocked full of ads if you weren't a patron, so you have paid us and you've wasted your time. Also, we will be back on Saturday, and before that we have a couple of announcements real quick. We got some new patrons. So first and foremost, welcome to our new patron, Same 8951W. He joined for the Rebirth Island patron custom hangout. He was there. He was talkative. He had fun. He did use a riot shield, and I stuck him with a thermite, and he survived anyway because he had a self and a durable gas mask.
Nice.
And that pissed me off. So I will not be banning you from the Patreon because I have car bills and medical bills to pay, but I want to, let me be clear, and welcome, buddy.
Yeah, just feel like it.
And more importantly than you, and a better person than you, a super sweat, I'm Bay TV, has joined at the Damascus tier. Wow. An absolute god. We played some games with him as well. He was at the customs, killing everyone. And that was fun and exciting.
Bro,
when he was customs. On my team. And it was not fun and exciting when he wasn't. But nonetheless, he has joined. He's been in the community. We played some pubs with him too. That was fun. Yeah, welcome aboard, Chief. Good to have you. And thanks for joining at the Damascus tier. Much better than Same, who joined at gold. I mean, you might as well break into my home and steal from me, Same. You might as well do that.
Hey, thanks for the $2, Same. Hope you had a great night at the hangout.
Yeah.
Asshole.
You, same. But not you, Bay. Thank you. And also, last and certainly not least, LAX, the worst airport on earth, has gone from monthly to annual Damascus, saving himself 12 or 16% by going annually. Don't know what percentage it is. Won't ever remember. Won't ever check either. Doesn't really matter. But that's what a fiscally responsible Damascus patron does. They go annual and give us a lump sum, which again, I need because of medical bills and car bills. Shout out to Freon and Scion TCs. They suck. It's fine, actually. It's been 14 years. Anyway, LAX, thank you very much for going annual king. Speaking of the Patreon, by the way, we just put out 2 absolutely fire and banger episodes back to back. The first of which was our first ever mixed bag episode. That went really well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good format that I'm very excited to iterate on because it's always different, obviously, because basically what we do, which you've heard in the ad read, by the way, for this episode, and you're going to hear it again now and stay mad, and you can avoid ads, but not this, by the way, by going to patreon.com/thedropshot. We take a bunch of micro topics. So like episode ideas that wouldn't constitute a full episode. It's not enough to talk about. It's like 20 minutes worth of conversation, basically. Bundle a bunch of those up, talk about them. We did it. Some of which are your guys' suggestions. Some of which are our own thoughts and ideas that we want to do kind of micro topics on. We did our first one this month or last month, and it was really good. I really, really enjoyed that. I think it's an awesome format. I'm kind of mad we didn't think of it sooner, frankly. But we talked about like the long range meta. We talked about the smoke meta, like what makes a healthy long range meta, or like, is the smoke meta good? Will BO6 have good weapon balance? Like things like that, you know? And I really enjoyed that one. And then our last Patreon episode this month was about season 5, more on Superstore, more on the current weapon meta, what guns are good, what guns are bad, and why. Kind of, yeah, just evolved thoughts on the new Superstore POI and some strategies and tips in there. Actually, quite a few of them. I thought both of those episodes went really, really well. And you could go listen to them now if you become a patron or are one at literally any tier. Even Same, who wants to invade my home and steal from me, can go listen to those episodes, in fact.
Yeah.
How did you like those, man?
Home invasion on you. Yeah, I thought they were both good. I thought they were both excellent. Yeah. Mixed bag one people seem to like, and season 5 very fresh, recent discussion, and there's a lot more to say on season 5 too. And yeah, I guess we really never we haven't said it yet publicly. It's just been on the Patreon episodes. But yeah, the customs last weekend went very well, very, very well. We were able to play customs. We had 35 people for 3 hours. We ran it.
A long time, dude. Yeah, like 10 games.
It worked. So we will certainly be doing that again probably in 2 to 3 months, but now we know we can do it. You guys in fact showed up, 35 of you, and we did it. It was excellent. I was saying on Patreon, probably the best customs we've ever done. The teams ended up being balanced. Nobody ruined it. Same used a riot shield, but it's fine. He still got pooped on. Bay dropped like 45 kills the first game. Okay. But other than that, it was good. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, he's better than Jake.
Really good time,
by the way. So.
Well, Jake is trash. Yeah.
Jake's not good.
Jake is not good.
Are you not very good at this? God, it makes me laugh every time. And then other than that, we did get some offline financial contributions. Razinon's balls super chatted 10 currencies. I don't know what this symbol is. I don't know if it's a pound or a euro. And I'll never know,
money.
By the way.
It's money. 10 money.
I'll go out of my way to never learn, because euros can suck my American balls and so can pounds. But anyway, speaking of Razinon's balls, when will be the first Twitch stream episode in the 10 currencies? Thank you very much for the super chat. A time, and also pretty soon, probably, actually. It's a new month now, so hopefully by Monday, if not the next Monday, we will get that multi-stream set up. We're pretty close. We have to change the name of one of our Twitch profiles and then set that up afterward. So we're pretty close to it, though. We will be doing that soon. So yeah, if you guys like watching us live, but you're mainly Twitch viewers, I sympathize with you. I'm the same way. And we will let you guys know when we're back on Twitch, and we will demand your Prime subs, by the way. So save your Twitch Primes.
Yeah, stop giving other people our Prime sub.
Yes.
Stop it.
In fact, you know what? While you're at it, log on to Twitch, go to Tanner Dropshot's Twitch, and give him your Prime sub now. Because
right now,
that's where we'll be going. And it doesn't cost you anything, so do that. And thank you for the super chat, buddy. And Mike B has become a member for 20 months. W Customs. Yeah, Mike B was there as well. And the customs were fun. And thank you for being a friend of the pod. A YouTube member, you can watch VODs ad-free. If you're a YouTube member, by the way, of the podcast, right after they're done. Be a patron, it's better. Be both, that's ideal. W Customs indeed. Thank you and welcome back, Big Giant Dog. And Chris has also become a 20-month member on the tube. Another friend of the pod. Wow. 20 months, $20.
Wow.
Bro loves the number 20. Guess what? You're not 20 years old, you old bitch.
No.
L Chris, W Chris also, though, and thanks.
It's good for us, though, because if he were 20, he would not have money, so.
That's an exceptional point. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. So thank you, Chris, for being old as shit. And last and most importantly, we got another offline donation. Tanner got a tip. Michael Zanoli Guacamole Cannoli slipped a nice little crisp Benny into Tanner's panties and said, Tanner's tip for playing Warzone with me. You're up next, Raz, you POS.
Yeah.
And a Benny, for those of you who are not Americans. That sucks. Also, that is 100 United States dollars. Wow. That is so much money.
Z. That was for only, I think, 2 games.
With him, huh?
No, we didn't play. We did not play Plunder.
You guys played Plunder? You played Plunder.
We played duos, I believe. Was it duos? Yeah, it was duos. 2 games, 3 games? I don't know. We played a little bit. He was going to bed. I was waiting for Sierra to get home, so that's all the time we had. But it was fun, yeah. So $100, that's the going rate. If anyone wants to play with me for 2 games, it is $100. Of course, you can DM. We'll set that up. That scales as well. So if your KD is very low, it's 150 to 200 a game. Yeah. So we'll figure it out though. Just send me your stats and hit my DM up and
hit his line.
Hit my line. Yeah.
Hit his line. Yeah.
See if we can figure something out.
Yep, and I will be taking half of that money. Just to be
clear.
You will
not. It says it's for me, man. No.
Just to be super clear. Zanoli, thank you very much, buddy. We appreciate that. Very kind of you, King. Keep it up. All right, that's it. We're done. We'll be back on Saturday. We have a plan for sure. I just don't remember what it is.
We 100% definitely have a plan, and we know exactly what we're doing on Saturday. So we don't need to tell them now, but we know exactly what we're doing. 100% certainty. Yeah.
Absolutely definitely. True. Absolutely correct. Yes. Stay humble.